Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and look, it's growing back. If anyone's not new here, normally I have a giant beard. It's summertime, but it's growing back a little bit. It's finally getting a little bit cooler, but obviously it's not yet June. So anyway, besides that, I hope everyone's been doing well, and everyone's been able to watch some movies or at least take some time off, or hopefully you're working hard if you aren't. So anyway, today is going to be a massive thing. So a few days ago, I put up a poll on the channel to where I was asking for a few things, and actually I have a few ideas. In fact, I think I'm going to do several of those things. But the one that seemed to edge out more, or at least more people were interested in, were Blu-ray hauls and collection updates and things like that. So I think I'm going to start doing these a little bit more frequently. I used to do them a lot, and doing during hauls and during certain months when certain things were going on sale and whatnot. In fact, there's some big sales coming around the corner when this is coming out. But regardless, I haven't done one in a long time, so I wanted to put together all of the things that I've picked up over the last like 5 months. So this is like kind of a midway through the year haul, so there's going to be a lot of things to talk about. With that being said, though, there are only a few of these films that I have seen. Some of them I've picked up and I just wanted to watch right away, and some I have already seen before. I just upgraded to a different edition, and then there's a lot of new films in here, so I'm very excited to showcase that with you today. And but anyway, let me know some of your highlights of what you've picked up over the last few months down in the comment section down below. I would love to see kind of what you've been doing, for the last little bit. So with that being said, let's jump into this very long video of Blu-ray hauls for the first half of the year. All right, so let's start off with some bangers. So let's talk about two box sets from a brilliant boutique label called Second Sight Films, and I'm talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre and another film in just a second. But man, I got this limited edition 4K from Second Sight. Oh my gosh, I am so ecstatic to check this out. Of course, I've seen this movie before on several occasions, and it is a tough watch. So if you've never seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I definitely recommend you checking it out. Maybe don't buy this giant edition just yet if you've not seen it. Certainly check it out first. But that being said, if you are a big fan of this movie, this is the way to go with this particular film. So I'm very excited to check in this film out. I've heard really wonderful things in terms of HDR and in quality. There are some art cards that come with it. Of course, we have a book that comes with it as well, which is a very thick book, but I'm very excited to jump into that. It looks gorgeous. It smells gorgeous too, because it's like new, when you open up new product, new plastic, I guess. And then there are the films itself on Blu-ray and on 4K right there. So very excited for this film. I'm definitely going to watch this very soon because it is the summertime. So what better way to kick off, horror films in like one of the perfect summer horror films, right? Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So yeah, that is from Second Sight, limited edition 4K. Love it. With that being said, there is another limited edition run that I picked up, and that is Picnic at Hanging Rock. Wow, this is an immaculate release. This looks absolutely stunning right there. I've heard mixed things about this one. I think in terms of, I guess, the picture quality, some things are a little bit odd, but I'm really, really excited about this in terms of how everything's set up. So if anyone hasn't seen this movie, it's actually on Criterion. Peter Weir did this back in 1975, I believe, which is actually one of the best years for films. But just like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there are some really wonderful art cards that come with it, along with a book or two, of course. This one right here is the book itself. This is actually based on a book, so this is some gorgeous artwork right there. So not very long. Actually, this is not the book itself. This is these are all the cast and crew, little essays, things like that, just kind of describing the film and the time period it is. There is the book, which is right here, which I mistakenly thought was this, and that is it right there. Written by Joan Lindsay. Right there, it is a gorgeous piece right there. Doesn't look like it's that big of a book. Looks like a couple hundred pages. Yeah, nearly 200. So that's an easy read if you are into reading. But if you haven't read this, this actually comes with the Criterion edition as well. But I'm very excited to have this copy as well. And then, just like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it comes with multiple things here. Of course, this has the 4K discs and the Blu-ray discs right here. So there are 4 discs in this particular set, with probably tons of special features, but I'm a really big fan of this film, so regardless of how it's going to look and how people have talked about it, I'm going to see it for myself and kind of see how it stacks up in terms of what it looks like. With that being said, I'm very, very excited to dive into this film. Once again, I love this film and adore it, so I have seen this, and I highly recommend it if you've never seen it before. Check it out on the Criterion channel. I believe they probably have it there, but if you haven't and you are a fan of this film, this is the one to go with. All right, speaking of Criterion, I have one Francois Truffaut film to show you, and from 1962 is Jules and Jim. I picked this up actually in a recent trip up to Kansas City when I saw my friends KB, and I didn't see Ryan that day. But anyway, we had a really good time. We went to Vintage Stock, and I picked this up for about like $15. Don't know how. I guess it was on sale. But this is from 1962. This is by number 281. It's a classic French film, from the early 60s. So I'm very excited about this. I've never really seen much Truffaut besides 400 Belows. So I'm excited to check this one out. And a little Radiance film that we'll talk about probably in the future. So, Jules and Jim, have you seen it? All right, so next we're going to jump to Severin Films, which is their May bundle, which I picked up because both of these titles looked really interesting. And one of them is a box set, one is a 4K. The 4K is Drowning by Numbers, directed by Peter Greenaway. Peter Greenaway did The Cook, the Thief, his wife and her lover, something like that. Anyway, I've never seen the film before. I actually don't think I've seen Peter Greenaway, but I've definitely read about him and heard much about types of films that he makes. He's definitely outside the box in a lot of terms. But I was very excited about this one. This one's kind of the curious kind of extra thing that I wanted with the box set that I picked up. But I'm certainly interested in this film. I've heard really fun things about this in terms of how insane it is. So I guess it even has like a manner of a latter day and even more debauched Lewis Carroll. So yeah, if you are a fan of Alice in Wonderland and things like that, that's kind of where my mind goes when I'm going to watch this film. So, but the other films, plural, that I picked up was the Danza Macabra Volume 1, Italian Gothic collection, and very excited about this. This is another gorgeous box set from Severin Films. They do wonderful jobs when they put out their box sets because you get those covers right there. And then there are the Blu-rays right here. There are 4 films here: The Monster of the Opera, we have The Seventh Grave, we have Scream of the Demon Lover, and Lady Frankenstein. So I've not seen any of these films. I'm a huge fan of Gothic horror in general. I think these are going to probably be very akin to Hammer horror and things along that type of ilk, the things that I enjoy most, and, have a little bit of cross of jolly and things like that. So I'm very excited to check out this film. These films, I keep saying plural, like a singular thing. It's not, it's plural. So so I got the May bundle from Severin Films, and very excited about these 2 films right here, Drowning by Numbers and Danza Macabra Volume 1. All right, so next we're going to talk about, speaking of some Gothic horror, I picked up this from Umbrella Entertainment in Australia. I wanted to check this out and see what the differences were and the different things, but I'm a big fan of Hammer horror. And I got the Hammer Horror Triple Shock Volume 1 right here, which has 3 films: The Evil of Frankenstein, Paranoiac, and Nightmare, which I am a big fan of all those films. I've seen them all, and they're all fantastic. In particular, I think Nightmare might be my favorite of the bunch. But anyway, here is the box set itself. Comes in with these 3 films. I love the artwork on it right there. You have all of that. It also comes with a poster and I think a CD as well, which has a trailer compilation, actually. This is a trailer compilation that has a bunch of Hammer horror films in it. So that's actually really cool. I didn't even think about that in terms of what it's going to look like. I'm going to watch that sometime. Booklet that comes with it, and I believe a poster that I have somewhere else. But anyway, they have Nightmare right there. You have Paranoiac. And finally, The Evil of Frankenstein. and there's some alternative artwork as well. But yeah, great Hammer horror films. So if you are a fan of Hammer horror, this is certainly something that might be on your radar already. But if you're not, certainly check it out and give it a go. So, but I definitely wanted to pick this one up and kind of see what all the buzz is, because I'm a big fan of Hammer horror. All right, so smoothly transitioning to another Umbrella title is The Box of Burt. And wow, when this marketing came out, I was really ecstatic, because apparently this came with a poster, like a decal, like a sticker of, Burt Lancaster just laid out, all naked, because, like in Playgirl, like he was many, many years ago. But it's very interesting. I just thought the package was really hilarious and also just amazing. But speaking of Box of Burt, though, I don't think I've actually seen any of the films that Burt Reynolds has been in terms of what is here, which is crazy, because I've heard of them and I've seen them multiple times just referenced. And I'm talking about the Cannonball Run 2, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Stroker Ace, and The Man Who Loved Women. So, and there are those box sets right there. So quite a bit of films right there, 5 actually. So, which is really cool. So we have, Cannonball Run 1 and 2. We have The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, Stroker Ace, and The Man Who Loved Women right there. I am excited about this, just in sheer fact, like I said earlier, I have not seen any of these films. So, and also it's called The Box of Burt, which is just hilarious. So, anyone actually had picked this up, let me know if you got the really cool bundle. I'm really jealous, and please send me some stuff. I just think it's hilarious. So, but anyway, Box of Burt, had to pick this one up because I haven't seen any of the films, and I wanted to check out some legendary films, some B movies maybe. All right, continuing down kind of some of the boutique label train. I don't know if this is considered a boutique label. It's a mainstream one, but it's A24. I actually picked up the Blu-ray edition of After Sun, which I've heard is just a phenomenal film from 2022, from last year. And a lot of people I've talked to are just ecstatic about it. In fact, my friends Sam and Elliot, film blogger Sam and Elliot Cohen, both highly recommend this, as well as my friend Chris Moen. But yeah, I'm very excited about this one. And, A24 doesn't really do much wrong in terms of, well, apparently the packaging is really hard to get out. But besides that, everything else, it looks pretty good. So there's that. And then inside there is like a booklet that comes with it and the Blu-ray itself. So, nothing too crazy. Just has a commentary, some postcards, and behind-the-scenes photography. So nothing too crazy on it, but certainly want to check this one out sooner than later. All right, so now we're going to Imprint. I only picked up one title from them recently. I got this actually from Orbit DVD, and because I'm a huge fan of basketball, I'm in the NBA. Eastern and Western Conference Finals are happening right now. So, if you're a fan of basketball, you understand. But I wanted to pick up Blue Chips. And so I actually got the limited edition right here of that with Shaq and Nick Nolte. I am excited about this one. I really don't know much about it besides the fact that I've seen this poster like 1,000 times everywhere in the past. So very excited about this one. I'll probably check this out one afternoon and just have a good little time with it. So yeah, this is going to be a fun film. All right, so next we're going to talk about some Kino Lorber 4K titles that I picked up. I think I got these at the tail end of one of their sales that they had, and I wanted to pick these up for a decent price. And I actually picked up the 4K of Out of Sight with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez, among a million other people who are in it: Albert Brooks, Farina, Don Cheadle, and Ving Rhames. So I don't really know much about this. I think it's a neo-noir of sorts. It definitely feels that way. But I remember when the buzz came out when this was announced for 4K, so I'm very excited to check it out sometime soon. And then the other film that I picked up from Kino Lorber right here is a Charles Bronson classic, which I haven't seen much Charles Bronson, so this is definitely one that I wanted to start off with. But I picked up Death Wish right here on 4K, and I'm excited about this one. It's going to be like definitely a gritty 1970s movie, 1974, of course. So it's definitely going to be an interesting time, and I'm sure it's going to be a very violent and actiony one at that too. So yeah, have you seen Out of Sight or Death Wish? Let me know in the comment section down below. All right, so next we're going to move to Paramount Presents and their lineup. This is Spy Number 38 and is directed by Leslie Harris. It is Just Another Girl on the IRT. I do not know much about this, but I was actually in my local video store where I picked this disc up, and I was just eyeing it because it just spoke, late 80s, early 90s, and I definitely wanted to check this one out. This is 1993 is when this came out. It just looks like a really fantastic story. I've heard really good things about it. Just reading the back, definitely just felt like a film that I would want to watch. It won the jury prize in 1993 from Sundance, and so I'm excited to check this one out, but I don't really know much about it, but I'm definitely interested in this film, so that's why I picked it up. So anyway, has anyone seen this film? Let me know in the comment section down below. Next, we're going to move to 88 films, and I know I'm in the middle of Martial Arts Month, so I had to pick this up, starring the incredible Michelle Yeoh, and I'm talking about Magnificent Warriors from 88 Films, like I said, and that is a really cool cover. I love this edition. So this is a film from the, 1987, which is my favorite movie year period. But I actually took this out, and I have the reversible cover on the back. The other cover is the same as this, but it's stacked with features. It has a poster that comes with it, and a booklet, and I'm excited for some action films, even if it's martial arts adjacent, if that makes any sense. Next, we're going to talk about a film from Mill Creek. I actually picked this up alongside Just Another Girl when I was at the video store, and I picked up The Paper right here, and this really cool kind of VHS edition right here. You've seen these probably at Walmart or something, and this is starring, wow, like holy crap, Michael Keaton, Glenn Close, Marissa Tomei, Robert Duvall, and then that guy Randy Quaid, the insane one. This is a film from the early 90s that I did not know about. I don't really know much about this film, but just seeing that all-star cast and it was pretty much the cast that really sold me on this one. But I looked it up and on the internet, and it looked like a really interesting film. I guess it's directed by Ron Howard. So that's showing you how much I know about this movie. But it was cheap. It looked fun, and I'm going to check it out. So The Paper, that's what I picked up. So going back to that Kino Lorber sale, I also picked up some Coen films. They are on Kino's site, and I wanted to pick these films up. The first one is a recent film. This actually is from 2020. It is Apples right there. And the cover alone is the thing that kind of struck me. And then reading more and more about it, and just kind of seeing what this entailed, really intrigued me. So if you are curious about this, I would certainly recommend looking into this. It's directed by Christos Nico, and actually produced by Kate Blanchett. So if that gives you enough. But yeah, check out Apples and look into it a little bit. Next is two films that I have seen before. I just never owned before. And I'm talking about Buster Keaton Collection Volume 2, which has Sherlock Jr., which is one of the best Buster Keaton films out there, and has The Navigator, which I've seen only once, but I think I have it in another edition. But I definitely wanted this mostly for Sherlock Jr. because there's like a harder way to get this film. But I wanted Sherlock Jr. from Eureka. But regardless, Coen Films has it, so I'm certainly going to pick it up, and add it to the collection. So I picked those two up, and then transitioning from there to a film from Canadian International Pictures, which is a boutique label I don't think enough people talk about and or really know much about, but it is Don't Let the Angels Fall. So you can probably pick this up on Vinegar Syndrome's site. There's a partner label here, but I picked this up in my local video store again. This just looked like a really good kind of neo-drama thriller right there. This is from 1969. I really like that cover, and it just seems like a nice, crazy drama that looks really enticing in sorts. And so I also just love that cover. I just think that's really great art. So I picked those up from the video store. All right, now we are talking about some BFI releases. Going back to the Kino Lorber sale, this was on the site, and I'm surprised because it has BFI associated with it, and that is The Adventures of Prince Ahmed, a film by Lotte Reiniger. This is a classic animated film, and this came out in 1921 all the way, or 1926, my bad. And then there is actually a bunch of bonus features with other short films that are directed by this director, and this is an animated masterpiece apparently. So I've been eyeing this for a long time, but I just didn't know where to really get it or just really think about picking it up at that time. So I finally picked it up, and I'm super excited about it, and that's why I got it from the Kino Lorber sale. That was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to watch this soon. All right, so other BFI releases. One I picked up from Orbit DVD, one that I've been eyeing for a while, just because I'm a fan of this singer songwriter / actress. She was recently in the Northman. I'm talking about Bjork, and I'm talking about The Juniper Tree. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce that director's name, Nietzsche Keen. It's an Icelandic film. I cannot talk. It's a medieval folk tale, a Brothers Grimm story. If anyone knows me, I'm a huge fan of folk horror. I mean, you can see it behind me in the very corner or over here. This has been one I've been eyeing for a long time, and I finally saw it on Orbit DVD. I'm like, yeah, I'll pick that up, and so I'm excited about it. But this is a crazy film. I've heard this is a very weird movie. I've heard, just like Bjork is. Bjork is very strange, but I'm very excited about checking out The Juniper Tree finally and having it on Blu-ray for the first time. And next is actually a gift from my friend Goose. Thank you so much for gifting this for me. I'm talking about The Great White Silence. This was actually the film that he talked about in the film journey that we had. If you want to check that out, definitely check it out on the channel. Goose was kind enough to send this over, and I'm excited about this documentary. This is the official record of Captain Scott's heroic journey to the South Pole. So this is actually a very early film. This came out in 1924, so it's going to be some documentarian kind of footage. So I think this is like a lot of the first time that a lot of this was just caught on camera, and I'm very excited about this because I love documentaries, and I need to start watching documentaries a lot more. So I'm going to probably try to pair this with Nanook of the North, which I still have not seen, but I also have that on my shelf, like many other things, right? So next we're going to talk about Fun City Editions, which is partnering up with Radiance Films. I believe that they are off of Vinegar Syndrome. I don't know for a fact, but regardless, I have two films here. One from Radiance Films that picked this up, and I'm talking about Married to the Mob right here. This is a film from 1988. I'm very excited about this. This is directed by Jonathan Demme, actually. So if you are a fan of something wild, or something, Silence of the Lambs, definitely this is going to be a really fun one. I have a feeling this is going to be a little bit more like Something Wild, just in terms of a kind of a screwball thriller of sorts. So I'm excited for this one, and I'm glad I got the slipcover for it. Speaking of slipcovers, I didn't get a slipcover of this, but this is Fun City Editions of Cutter's Way right here. And Cutter's Way came out in 1981. It's got Jeff Bridges in it. It also has Lisa Ickhorn and John Hurd in it as well. You know what? I really don't know much about this movie, but it looks like a crazy film. It almost looks like a film that you would see maybe around the late 60s, early 70s in that new wave of American cinema. And it definitely looks like it fits into that, but I may be completely off, so who knows what I'm talking about. So anyway, Cutter's Way, have you seen it? I've heard really good things about it. So next, we're going to talk about Indicator, and they recently had a sale on their site. There's two stragglers that kind of came along a little bit later, but I picked up Putney Swope, directed by Robert Downey, and I've been eyeing this one for a while. I thought I had picked it up, but apparently I didn't, and so now I have it. It looks like a lot of fun. It's got a bunch of special features, as Indicator always has, and then has the booklet as itself and reversible artwork as well. And then the other thing that I picked up was Peter O'Toole and Murphy's War. This looks like a really fun film, directed by Peter Yates. It came out in 1971, so looked really interesting. And so I got those, and then I also got the first 4Ks from Indicator, and these are two films directed by Gene Roland, and these are two vampiric films. The first one being right here, The Shiver of the Vampires, right there. I like the artwork quite a bit. It looks very sexy and violent, as that suggests right there. So I'm curious to see kind of what this film turns out to be. I've heard mixed things about it, but I've heard this is like a genre type of film, these French vampire films. And the other thing I picked up was Two Orphan Vampires right there. It also looks like a really fun time right there. This is spine number 417, and this is spine 402. But I'm curious to see kind of what Indicator has done in terms of 4K and how the restoration worked. But it looks like it's got quite a bit of extra features added to it, so I'm certainly curious about this. And I know they just announced more Gene Roland films on 4K, so I'll probably pick those up too, just depending on how I watch these and what I think of them. So next we're going to talk about Eureka Entertainment, and there are a few things. One actually was long overdue that I've been wanting to get for a while, and that one is The Last Warning, directed by Paul Lenny, this is the last film that he directed. This came out in 1929, right at the the scary times to be in the States or just in the world, 1929. But yeah, The Last Warning looks like a crazy thriller of sorts. I really don't know much about it, but I've been eyeing this ever since it was announced, and I'm glad that Eureka is putting out these classics and giving them some fresh life. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is I love these sets so much. And in fact, I'm probably going to spend a day watching all 4 of these movies. But I'm talking about Creeping Horror right here, which are a lot of B movies that looks like it's all starring Bela Lugosi. Murders in the Zoo, Night Monster, Horror Island, and House of Horrors. So I don't think Bela Lugosi's in every one of them. Who knows? If it's not, that's totally fine. This is from 1933. 1942, 41, and 46 respectively. So I'm very excited about that because I love the B Universal horror monster movies, and the types that come out with it. Even if they're definitely kind of forgettable, they're certainly fun if that's the case. So Eureka, keep putting these out. I adore these things, and so as long as you keep getting rights to it, you put them out, I'm gonna buy them. That's just how it goes. So I'm very excited about that and Creeping Horror. Now we're to a big section, the Arrow video section. There's been a lot of Arrow video things coming out left and right, and I decided to jump on board with it. So the first thing I want to talk about is a trilogy that I think my friend Chris Moen talked about recently and told me, like, hey, you should check this out. So, and also I'm in the middle of martial arts month, so why not? I got the Street Fighter trilogy. So Sony Chiba, I have not seen any Sony Chiba films. Blech. I can't talk. I've not seen any films from this guy, or things that he's been in. So I'm curious to know what this is all about. So definitely had to pick it up. And this is from 1974 is kind of when this all started. But it looks like it has a ton of special features associated with it, and it has some really cool artwork, as well as the discs itself. And I believe it has, just a booklet that comes with it. So, and reversible artwork. So, I'm excited to check out some Sony Chiba films. And I'm going to start off with the Street Fighter trilogy. All right, so next is a film that has been a lot of buzz between my friends. They have been telling me to watch this movie because it is apparently batshit insane. And so I had to pick it up. And I'm talking about Arrow's The Sacred Spirit. This is a film directed by Chima Garcia Ibarra. And this came out not that long ago. I want to say this came out in 2021. So not that long ago at all. But I've heard this is absolutely bonkers. So I'm excited to check this out and kind of see what my thoughts are. This is literally one where I really could not tell you anything about it. I've just been recommended it. And they told me I would love it. So we'll check it out. We'll see what I think. So The Sacred Spirit. It's gonna get weird. All right. So continuing down the Giallo route, I've been one of those idiots buying the Giallo box sets. I know a lot of people are a little divided about them because a lot of people already have a lot of these discs themselves, but I haven't had any of them. So this has been wonderful. But I got the blue one, Giallo Essentials Blue. Which has some really cool films in it. It has the forbidden photos of Lady Above Suspicion, Death Walks on High Heels, and Death Walks at Midnight. And so those are the films themselves right there. And let's see if I can share the cover. Oh my gosh, that is just beautiful artwork right there. Has some really great special edition stuff right there. And then there are the films itself right there in all their glory. But yeah, I'm always gonna be on board with these Giallo sets. I think they're pretty. And on top of that, I don't have any of the films. outside of the box sets yet, at least. So I'm going to keep picking these ones up, but definitely pick this one up, and I'm excited about it when I start to watch some Giallo films. All right, so the next two box sets I actually picked up on Hamilton Books, and I got these for a really good deal. I think 35 and 40. I think those were like the prices, which is an insane deal for these. But these are about 9 films directed by Claude Chabrol. And this is Lies and Deceit right here. This box set has 5 films, and this is Twisting the Knife that has 4 films. So these films in particular, there's the box sets themselves and all the other goodies attached to them. Yeah, I don't really know much about these films, but the fact that I've heard some people kind of just talk about them in terms of it is definitely some crime films that are in like the 1960s and 70s that look like a lot of fun. So always a fan of checking out new things that I just really don't know much about, but like just look super intriguing. So I know that might turn some people off, and some people might just be like, you know what is this guy doing? I'm not recommending these. I'm just saying this is what I picked up. So anyway, certainly excited to check these ones out and figure out what these are all about sometime soon. All right, next we're going to talk about Warner Archive. There was recently a sale on Movie Zing where they had really good deals, getting all of these discs for a really discounted price. It's not the 4 for $44 that we used to adore and miss quite a bit, but I picked up quite a bit of titles here for a decent price. In fact, just a little over $100. So it's great. So let's just go in alphabetical order. The first one I picked up was Adventures of Don Juan, and this is starring Errol Flynn, and I love swashbucklers, so I definitely wanted to check this one out. This one came out in 1948, so kind of near the probably end of Errol Flynn's era, but certainly gonna check this one out and have a good time. Speaking of having a good time, here's a crazy movie that I've always loved the cover of, and that is Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. This is one of those B movies from the 1950s, 1958 to be exact, in the Cold War paranoia, and this looks like just an absolutely insane film, very akin to Godzilla in a sci-fi fashion. But yeah, it looks like fun. Next is a film starring Spencer Tracy and Robert Ryan, and that is Bad Day at Black Rock. And this is in 1954. I believe my friend Raquel is actually the one who put me on board on this one, and she kind of talked about this film in one of her hauls, and I was certainly curious about it, and that's why I picked it up. But it looks insane, and it looks like a lot of fun from the 1950s. So next we're going to talk about a film directed by Robert Altman, one that I had been eyeing for a second as well. It's been on a lot of shopping cart lists for some time now, and I'm talking about Brewster McCloud right here, and different kind of film from the director of MASH is what it says at the very bottom. So this came out in 1970, so this came out right around the time MASH came out. So I'm definitely curious about this. I just love Altman, so that's why I wanted to check it out, and I'm probably going to be just picking up more and more things that Robert Altman's directed that are odd ones that are just not talked about as much. So Brewster McCloud, that's one of them. The next is a film that I believe that Lauren Bacall maybe did not enjoy, but that's what I've heard. It's also starring Gregory Peck and co-starring Dolores Gray, and I'm talking about Designing Woman right here, which looked interesting just in terms of, like I said, I looked at Bacall and I saw Gregory Peck, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. That was all that was needed for me to check this out. 1957, another great year for films. I had to pick this one up. We'll see if it's the film that Lauren Bacall actually did not like being a part of. We'll see. Next is a classic from 1932, another, kind of akin to that creeping horror set that we talked about earlier. It is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde right here, Frederick March, Miriam Hopkins, and Rose Hobart, like I said, 1932. So it's going to be a classic, kind of horror film, but from Warner Brothers. So not the usual, Universal thing that we saw around this time. So I'm curious about it, and I have never seen the original Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so we'll check that out. Next is actually not too long ago this was released, I think maybe last year, and I'm talking about The Frisco Kid, which has Harrison Ford and Gene Wilder in it, and that, come on. Those two are fun, and I never think of the two together. So we'll see how this goes. Looks like a lot of hilarity in it. Look at those clips just in general. So looks like a comedy western. So I'm gonna enjoy that probably very soon. And then next we have a film that has Laurence Olivier in it and is from 1979. So it's actually probably one of the latter Laurence Olivier films. It is A Little Romance right here. I was definitely curious on the cover, and then reading a little bit more about it made it look like a kind of a delightful film of sorts. So we'll see how it goes and see what I think of it. But yeah, Laurence Olivier is definitely like the one that caught my eye, and the cover itself. Next is a film directed by Paul Newman, actually, and starring Joan Woodward, and that is Rachel, Rachel, right there. Another film that, the cover kind of caught my eye, and this is from 1968. Seeing Paul Newman's name on it, too, seeing that he was the one who produced and directed this. This is something that I'm very, very curious to see what this turns out to be. And then last that I picked up in that sale from Movie Zing is a film starring Robert Mitchum, and it's The Yakuza. It's one that I've been wanting to watch for a bit. I remember Tarantino talking about this film in his book, and so right there, that orange one. And so I was like, okay, I want to check this one out. So I saw that on the list as well and picked it up, and I also love Robert Mitchum, so we'll see about that. This came out in 1975, so kind of one of the latter Robert Mitchum films as well. So really great stack from Warner Archive. Now we're moving to Vinegar Syndrome, so now we're moving to the crazy times, but we're going to continue with actually a classic film, which I was really surprised that Vinegar Syndrome put out, and this is Flesh and Fantasy. And this is a just gorgeous cover right there. I love that. This is a classic film, which is wild. 1943. Certainly kind of seems a lot along the lines of like Carnival of Souls type. This is the vibe I get. But I was just blown away that Vinegar Syndrome put this out. But this is a trilogy of Tales in Love. So it looks like it's got kind of that Carnival of Souls, Black Sabbath kind of vibe. So it looks like it definitely is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm certainly curious about this one, and I'm going to check it out soon. Next, we're going to talk about some classics and ones that I've never seen before. So you can tell me in the comment section down below how much of a fool I am for not watching them yet. But the first one is the Amityville Horror. This is on 4K. This is starring James Brolin, Margot Kidder, and Rod Steiger. I've never seen this movie. I have seen so many countless other like clips and movies that would come out kind of after this. I have not really seen any of the Amityville Horror films that are associated with this particular film, but this is the classic one. This is from 1979, and that's the 4K of it. So I'm certainly curious about this. Going to be in a horror mood probably sometime this summer. And speaking of summer horror, I also had to pick this one up too because a lot of people have been talking about it, and apparently this is the very opposite of the film we talked about earlier. We're talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. This is a film that I've kind of avoided for a long time, just in terms that I knew that this was a comedy compared to the first film, which I think the first film, I'm definitely in that like mindset where I'm like, I want to watch this horror film and I want to kind of be bothered by it, if that makes sense. But this one looks like it's going to be a little bit more slapstick, a little bit more crazy. It's wild. This is probably one of the biggest films that a lot of people probably have seen. You probably have seen it if you're watching this, but I haven't, so I really don't know much about it. But I've just been avoiding it because the tone just definitely did not seem right. But we'll see, and I'll check it out myself. And I've heard this is a wonderful disc on 4K. Anyway, there's that, and then there's the box set itself right there. Just having a good time. All the people in that family. And it's got a bunch of special features, so certainly curious about that. So I had to pick this one up. Heard it's one of the best discs of last year, so got to check it out. Now we're going to jump into some studio titles. We're going to talk about some Blu-rays and some 4Ks. The first one is one that I've been eyeing for a long, long time. I just decided to buy it on Amazon because I've not seen it in the wild, and I picked up Aaron Brockovich. And this is Julia Roberts. So I've had this on my wish list for like 4 or 5 years. So it's been that long. So I wanted to check it out finally. So all right. So next is actually a film I saw a trailer for on an A24 disc. And it's not an A24 film, but it definitely feels like it could be, or at least one of those nice little indie comedy dramas. That's The Skeleton Twins. It's starring Bill Hader, Kristen Wiig, Luke Wilson, and Ty Burrell. Looks like a really fun time. Came out in 2014. Looks like, I adore like it's just indie like 2010s kind of dramas. So this looks like a lot of fun. And speaking of that, there is an A24 film, and this is actually called Laggies, that I was just along with Skeleton Twins, saw this on a trailer. This is starring Keira Knightley and Chloe Grace Moretz, along with Sam Rockwell, who's also fantastic. But yeah, A24 film from 2014. Don't really know much about it. Looks like a lot of fun. Speaking of A24, we're going to keep going down that train, and actually we're going to go on a red rocket. This is Sean Baker's latest film. It's crazy that I haven't seen it yet. I just recently picked up Tangerine from Second Sight. That's a wonderful movie. But I've heard this is a lot of fun and also hard to watch, like a lot of Sean Baker films are. Yeah, so I'm excited about this one. It looks like a little bit more of a comedy than anything else, but it definitely is going to probably have a lot of heart, because that's what Sean Baker does really, really well. So excited to check out Red Rocket. And the last A24 film that I want to talk about is one that I missed at the Oscar season. I just haven't seen it yet. And I'm talking about The Whale right here. This is starring Brendan Fraser, of course, who won the Oscar for Best Actor, who I believe Colin Farrell should have won. I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, Darren Aronofsky, who I had met in Ireland, Northern Ireland. That was a lot of fun, seeing him live there. And, he mentioned this film, but he was really kind of there for his documentary series that he had done. So, but I'm very excited to check this film out. I've heard mixed things from a lot of people, but I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy it because I like Aronofsky's films. So I have a feeling I know what I'm going into, if that makes sense. I lied. There's another A24 film, another one that's been on my list for a long time. This one's also from around the 2014 period, but 2015, talking about the end of the tour. Jason Segel and Jesse Eisenberg. Jason Segel. Why did I say Segel? Not him. Anyway, yeah, this is a movie that I've been wanting to watch for a long time, ever since I saw the trailer all those years ago, and been wanting to try to pick it up on the shelf, and so I decided to finally pick it up. It looks like a fun indie film, right? So curious about it, so that's why I picked it up. Next is a film that I was with KB actually up in Kansas City, and I picked this up, and I'm like, how do I not have this yet? And I'm talking about the classic Tango and Cash, which has Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell in it. This looks like an insane film. It's going to be probably on the same lines of like Death Wish, like we talked about earlier. This came out actually in 1989. A little bit more silly probably than Death Wish, but yeah, I'm super excited about this one. It looks like a crazy action movie that's going to just be a blast. So next we're actually going to move to 4K, and we're going to talk about a series. And that series is Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. And this is season 1. I'm really enjoying kind of how Game of Thrones is coming back. And I actually really like the original series quite a bit. The ending is definitely not the greatest, but regardless, I really enjoyed the journey, the majority of the journey. So when I saw that this was coming out and the new series was coming out, I watched it as it was coming out on HBO, and I actually really got back into the world that this George R.R. Martin had built, and so I'm definitely curious about seeing what comes next in the next season. There was a lot of time skipping in this particular first season, like per episode, which was a little bit weird for me, but I think the majority of the time gaps are going to be stopped now that season 2 is beginning. But I like it when it's slower. I like it when it kind of just paces itself out. I get to learn the characters more and more. I mean, that's what made the first few seasons of Game of Thrones so amazing, is because we spent time with the characters and learned about all their good and the bad sides of everything that they did. So yeah, but great show. I'm super excited about checking out this again on 4K. Speaking of dragons, I got Dragon Slayer on 4K. I've actually just heard really good things about this 4K from several people, just saying like, wow, the transfer on this is like this is better than you'd expected. So I kind of just fell alongside with them. I've never seen this film before. This actually came out in 1981. I really don't know much about it, but I've heard like the hype is real and it wasn't that expensive, so I picked up Dragon Slayer, and it looks like a hell of a fun time. So I'm probably gonna watch this one very soon. All right, so now we're going back to some films that I have seen, and first we're gonna talk about some Tarantino films. The first and second one, that is, and I'm talking about Reservoir Dogs on 4K and Pulp Fiction. Of course, I've seen these movies multiple times, many times actually. In fact, Reservoir Dogs is one of my favorite films of his. So is Pulp Fiction, of course. Well, I just haven't seen these on 4K, and I finally pulled the trigger and got these ones, and I'm very excited to check them out on 4K soon enough. And yeah, get them now because they're actually on pretty good sales, I think. At least Reservoir Dogs was. We're gonna go way back to a classic from 1943. We're talking about the legendary Casablanca right here. Oh, Bogart. We also have Bergman. Yeah, this is a wonderful film. Also Henry Reed. And also, I'm just blanking right now. Gosh dang it, Invisible Man. I gotta look who it is. I know exactly who it is. But it's blank. Claude Rains. Good God, how do I not know that off the top of my head? He's wonderful in this movie. Yeah, I had to get this movie. This is an incredible film, and I bet it looks freaking gorgeous on 4K. I have not checked it out yet, but I'm definitely going to watch it sometime soon. And the one that a lot of people have been waiting for a while. I don't have the slipcover, unfortunately, but I got the 4K of Heat. And wow, really phenomenal 90s film that was sorely off of my list. And I need to, if I could put it back on there, I would, because Heat's an amazing movie. Michael Mann, man, what an incredible film. Also, the cast, Pacino, Kilmer, and De Niro. I mean, come on. Yeah. Anyway, then we're going to transition to a crazy film, to the second film of this, and that is Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. I have Mamma Mia on the shelf. I've never seen it before. So I'm excited to check out some ABBA songs and some fun times, and I've heard this is actually even better than the first film, so that's even more promising, but I've heard these are just a lot of fun, so I'm very, very excited to check out Mamma Mia, and this will be very, very soon as well since the summer's coming around, so this is going to be a fun time. And this last bit is actually films that I meant to talk about first, but here we are at the end. These are films that I recently picked up that I have watched recently as well, so I can tell you more about it, but the first one is Toni Erdmann, right here. This is from Sony Pictures Classic. This is a German film that came out in 2016, I believe. Yeah. My friend Elliot Cohen actually just talked about this recently, and I was like, I've had that on my shelf or in my shopping cart for a long time. I've been trying to get it physically somewhere, but I'm like, you know what? I'll just buy it online. So I finally picked it up, and it's a long one. This one is nearly 3 hours long, 162 minutes. But man, what a grueling and interesting experience. I loved this film. The dad, it's a heartbreaking film. It's a film about relationships between, an estranged daughter who's really, really busy just with work, and her kind of father who's hopeless and, was recently divorced and recently lost his dog, and just he's just trying to play a lot of tricks and bug her in the funniest way possible, but just being one of those parents, But yeah, this is an amazing film. This is one of the best films that I've talked about. It not talked about enough. I agree with Elliot. Check out Toni Erdmann if you've never seen it. It'll break your heart, but it's in a good way. And there's a lot of great scenes in it. Next is actually a classic from the 90s. This is a film that I was actually at work, where I work. The owners were just constantly talking about it. I don't know what. Maybe this was just recently on Netflix or something, and they're like, have you seen this movie? Because they know I'm the movie guy, and they just keep talking about it. And I'm talking about The Count of Monte Cristo. I'm like, I don't have it, but I went on Amazon, and I was like, okay, here's the owner. I clicked it, and I bought it, and I showed it. I'm like, hey, $7, great deal. I know it's on Netflix, but anyway, I picked it up, watched it. Jim Caviezel, Guy Pearce, and Richard Harris are all in this. Great cast. Really good movie. Really good 90s kind of swashbuckling movie that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. So yeah, thanks guys. I know you're not watching this, the owners, but there you go. I picked up Count of Monte Cristo and had a good time with it. Next is a film that broke my heart in a really, really good way, and I'm talking about the 4K of Coraline. I don't know why, but for the longest time, this did not interest me. I did not want to watch it. It probably wasn't until watching My Life as a Zucchini, which I know is different, but it's in an adjacent space in my head at least, that really opened my eyes and heart open to these types of films, because I didn't know what to expect. But man, oh man, gorgeous 4K. The HDR looks really great, and yeah, it just looks really sharp and but like cozy and creepy and all of that together. Like it feels like a warm blanket watching this movie. Warm blanket that will like occasionally, have a rush of cold wind to come through. And yeah, Coraline. So glad I finally watched it. This is one of the best films I had seen recently, in recent times. I loved it so much. And now we're going to transition to a movie that you're going to probably hate, and now you can click off. The reason I talked about this later, I finally picked up Semi-Pro, which I had seen all the way years and years back. This isn't a good movie. I just watched it for fun. But I picked it up. It was like $5, and I'm like, you know what? I want to watch a dumb Will Ferrell movie that I hadn't seen in a while. Picked up Semi-Pro and I had a good time with it. So, yeah, and Love Me Sexy, great song, great song. And then the last two films I want to talk about are really great releases. One's from Vinegar Syndrome, so I probably should have brought it up earlier. And I'm talking about the release of Cloak and Dagger, which is the hard book case of it that I got recently, and I think in the sale, which has this right here, the Atari game, and then the credentials in here. I finally watched this on 4K, and wow, what a fun film. I did not know much about this, but I know this is a classic for a lot of people who grew up in this time period, and I just was blown away by how much fun this was. Kind of reminded me of, like Small Soldiers was for me, in a way, if that makes sense. But this has a really touching father-son dynamic in here that I highly recommend people check out. If you've never seen Cloak and Dagger, check it out. Good luck getting this. I don't know if it's still around, but anyway. And then last, another 4K one that's also on Netflix. This is actually a Netflix film, a German film that won a bunch of awards on Oscar night, and I'm talking about All Quiet on the Western Front. This is the media book, the 4K media book. I have not actually looked into kind of the middle section of this, with all the stuff in it, but I had seen the 4K and I had a harrowing time watching this. This was gut-wrenching. It was definitely a film. I knew kind of going in what to expect, of course. I mean, I've seen the original from 1930, and then I've obviously seen, modern war films, and this is definitely a lot more akin to like Come and See, which is a really a film that you'll remember once you watch it. And it's the same with All Quiet on the Western Front. And one fantastic score, and then also fantastic acting from our main character here, which I don't know the name off the top of my head, so apologies. But anyway, that being said, this is a long video. That's what I've been watching and picking up for the last five and a half months that I picked up. So that's a bunch of things to talk about, but hope you stuck around to the end, and I hope you had a good time watching this. Let me know in the comment section down below kind of some of the highlights that you had for the first half of the year that you picked up. So let me know in the comment section down below. Give it a like, share, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.